we'll come on now to the print colleagues, and I'm going to come first of all to Michael Blackley. Michael.
Are there circumstances where you would support trans members of staff accessing female-only changing rooms in Scottish Government buildings, in Scottish Government agencies and other parts of the public sector?
Well, all of these questions are carefully calibrated by the requirements of legislation. So in all of the approach to answering that question, Michael, there has to be the law has to be followed, and the law is quite clear that there must be single-sex spaces available within our estate. So that's what the law says and requires of us, and that has to be the case. Now, there are, of course, arrangements in the Equalities Act which address the issues that have to be taken into account by any employer in dealing with any desire from a trans person to use those single-sex spaces, and exemptions that can be deployed if the employer goes through the necessary process of considering the implications of that fact for other members of staff. So I think the key thing here is, and I've made this point on a number of occasions, that the rule of law is the crucial point here, and all organisations must act consistently with the law, and that's what I would expect to be the case in all circumstances. Can I come to Simon Johnson, please, Simon?
Thank you, First Minister. Just following up on Michael's question, the guidance for Scottish Government staff states, quote, trans staff should choose to use the facilities they feel most comfortable with. There's no requirement for them to have changed their legal gender or to have undergone gender reassignment. I just wonder if you support that policy, that Scottish Government policy. And just for the sake of clarity, given all the debate about this that's going on at the moment, is it your position that trans women are women?
Well, I've said, the answer I've given to that before is that that I accept that to be the case. And in relation to your first point, of course I support the guidance that's available, but it's underpinned also by the need to ensure that any such question does not come at the disadvantage of other members of staff. And that's a crucial obligation, which is in law, which the government as an employer has got to make sure is provided for within our estate in those circumstances. Can I come to Andrew Lermouth? Andrew.
Thanks, Mr. Minister. Just following on from Simon's question there, when it comes to single-sex facilities, are you confident that Scottish Government and other public bodies have complied with all relevant legislation, not just the Equality Act, that you've not gone beyond the law? And secondly, on reform, they've got no MSPs, only a handful of councillors, no leadership in Scotland. Are you not at risk of overplaying the threat of reform here and even possibly giving them a bit of an electoral boost by sort of, they can now come to this election going, it's mainstream Scotland versus us?
I think on your first point, obviously all legal provisions, wherever they've been enacted, have got to be followed by public bodies, and it's a fundamental point on the rule of law, which you've heard me talking about that on many occasions.